Automation allows you to record, edit, and play volume, mute, pan, and other parameter changes into the track so that they will happen automatically during playback. So, for example, if you have a song and you want the vocal to get louder in the chorus and then get back softer in the verse, you can use automation to do that automatically. The word comes from, the name of, comes from just what it is doing. It's it's automatically changing stuff in real time. So that's called automation, automatic automation. In order to see your automation lanes in Pro Tools, you're going to use the edit window here. And where it shows, let's see here, let's go to this track here. So normally a MIDI track would have the clips on it. And if I want to see my automation, it's right down here below this line right over here. See that? That's your automation line. What is up, Swift? How you doing, man? So that is where you can see your automation here. If you have any, it's going to be yellow like this. So if I scroll down beneath here, we can see I've got automation on my synth reverb and my noisemaker cutoff. I could also go in here and click any one of these, and then what's going to happen is we're going to see a line on the edit window. It's called an automation line. Right now, there's a couple things we can look at here real quick. Is if we want to, we don't have to look at it like this exactly. We can keep the clips up here. Let me just make this one, let me just make everything small. And I'll make this one bass part nice and big so we can see which one I'm looking at here. And if I go in here and I go to audio volume, I can see it right here in my main view. But if I want to see my clips and also see my automation, down here in the lower left-hand corner, there's this little button on each track that allows you to show your automation lanes right there. Boom. So we can show that. We click on that, and now we can choose what we were looking at in here. So if I want to look at my synth level, it's right there, and I can click the plus button over here. See this little plus button right there? I can click that, and now I can see something else right here. What is up, Smalls? How you doing, man? So now when I click on this, it's going to click on everything. And if I move stuff around, so we can see like over here, for example, I've got all this here. I can hold down Option. If I drag it over here, you can see the automation moves with it. Or if I don't hold down Option, I just move it, you can see how it moves the automation around with it. So these lanes down here are connected to the clips, unless you don't want them to be, which I can show you how to turn that off in just a minute. But we can drop the lanes down right here, and that's kind of how I recommend to do things. I wasn't doing it like that the other day because I wanted to show you how to do it now, but that's basically if you have automation in here. So we can see in this part here, the synth reverb level is going to grow up over this amount of time here. And the cutoff is going to be right here. So if I go in here, oops. Okay, so we can hear all these different things are happening in here, and I can make these changes over time. Here, let's just go ahead and let's do something with the synth percussion perky synth part here. Go ahead and solo this out. Staffo says, this is off topic, but are we going to learn more about sound design and synthesizers? Staffo, you would know the answer to that if you had read through the modules that we're going to be talking about. The answer is absolutely yes. We are totally going to be learning about that stuff. And actually, you already have access to all my notes and everything on Canvas. You can start going ahead and you know, getting the jump on that. It's like, what is it, like week 9 or 10 or something like that. It's towards the end. But yeah, if you just go ahead, I recommend everybody goes and looks through all the weeks that we're going to be doing, so you can see exactly what we are going to be learning about. But yeah, yep, sense is a big thing. It's one of my favorite things. All right, so in here I've got this this contact thing here. Let's go ahead and hit play. Oops. Get the reverb down a little bit. Cool. Yep, awesome. Okay, so I got this here. So let's go ahead and open up Contact and see what we can mess with in here. So what I got in here? Let's see what we got. Okay, so I could go ahead and mess around with my cutoff here. So I'm going to do that here. Let's do, hold on. So in Contact, the way you deal with stuff's a little bit different. I have to add it over here to this. So I got this creamy drops here, boop, 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 cutoff ARP. Yeah, cutoff here is number 1. So what I can do is, excuse me, whoa. What I can do is go into this automation thing up here, and I'm going to explain this here in just a second, but I have to double click on whatever I want to automate in Pro Tools. So my cutoff, I'm going to automate that, and once I click on that, it's going to show up down here in this bottom part here. So now I can just go in here and show what's up here. Caden, what is up? How you doing? Awesome. All right, so now what I can do is I can go in here and I can just like add in some stuff, or I can actually record this in. So let me just show you this real quick, and we're going to go back and talk about all this stuff here in just a minute. I just want to show it to you real quick first. So I got this in here. I'm going to go ahead and close this browser here. And so if I move this cutoff filter, we're going to see that line in Pro Tools right down here. That line is going to change. So if I move it around, we can see that. So what I'm going to do here is, let's say I want this to kind of move and change over time. So I'm good, man. Thanks. So this will move and change over time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here. I'm going to go to write mode. Let's go to write mode, because I only have one thing write enabled right now on there. And I don't want to write my any of my mute, send, all that stuff. So I'm going to turn that stuff off over here. So all I can do is write to my plugin here. And this is a window under Window Automation. And again, we're going to talk about all this stuff in detail in just a minute. I'm just kind of going over things real quick for you. So I'm going to hit play. I do not need to hit record. I just put the track into write mode, and now cool. So I got that, and you can see how I just wrote everything in here. Okay, how did you get the control of the cutoff automation in Contact? Let's not worry too much. I know I may have lost you just a second there with Contact. That's actually a Contact thing. Contact is a whole other can of worms that I don't want you to focus on right now. Just kind of watch the Pro Tools part of things, not the Contact part of things. Just because Contact is its own thing, and that's a whole different can of worms. Right now, what we're focused on is just the stuff in Pro Tools, and we're gonna go through the notes step by step by step. Okay, so we're gonna come back to Contact on another day, actually, when we're talking about sampling. So I've got this in here now, and you can see if I put it down here next to it, the knob is moving in accordance with this stuff here. So Tamelia says, were you in write mode or touch mode? Right now I'm in write mode. Okay, so I used write mode just because it was easiest to use. But if I want to go back and I want to use touch mode, well, you'll see how it changed to touch mode. Here, let me show you something real quick. When you hit stop, here, let me undo that. I'm going to go put it back in write mode, and watch what happens. I'm going to go ahead and do that again. I'm going to write it in. And once I hit stop, watch what happens to this right button over here in the left-hand corner. Watch. I'm going to hit the space bar, and it changes to touch mode. So automatically, when your song loops back around, if you have a loop point set, or if you hit stop, the next thing it's going to change to, instead of just being right again, it's going to change to latch or touch. And you can set that up in the preferences, which we're going to talk about in just a second. Okay, so that's like an overview of everything we're going to be talking about here today. And we'll also be talking about how to set these up using your tools as well to draw them in by hand. And so let's go back and check out the notes real quick. So the automation lanes are here. If I go over here and I set this up, I can get my automation lanes down here. There's two ways to get automation data into Pro Tools. You can record it in by hand, which is what I just did, or you can draw it in. So you can record it in using knobs and things like that, or you can draw it in. And you can also edit data the same way. After you've recorded it in, you can also draw it to change it later, or you can draw it in from the beginning and then you can record over it, however you want to do it. It's really up to you. And you're probably going to end up using a combination of both the ways at different points in time. Recording track automation, that's what I just did. So our automation modes, we have off, read, touch, latch, and write. So let's just go through these. Off means all automation is off. So if I go down here to this little thing and I say off, touch mode off, see how it, there's like a blue line that appears. Let me just go ahead and get rid of that. There's a blue line that appears here, and that just shows you where my setting is right now. And it's not changing. Okay, if I set this to read mode, watch what happens. If I try to go back and change that, see how it's moving? The knob is moving according to the automation. Well, if I grab this and move it up here, we can hear the change, but if I let go, you can see it's moving again, right? And that's because we're in read mode. Read mode means that Pro Tools is not going to allow you to make any permanent changes. It's just going to read whatever is on the track. That's what read mode does. Okay, so read mode is Pro Tools follows the automation data that's written on the track. And then we have automation record modes: touch, latch, and write. Touch mode only records the parameter you're touching. Latch only records the parameter you're touching. The same thing. But wait, hold on, what's the difference? So touch mode, it stops recording when you stop touching the parameter, and latch mode continues recording when you stop touching the parameter. We're going to come back to that in just a second. And write mode records all available parameters simultaneously. It's the most destructive record mode. So I recommend that you don't use write mode very often. I recommend that you mostly use touch, or latch, but if you wanted to record everything, then you can use write mode. But you can also control what your automation is actually writing using this automation window here. Okay, and we'll come back and talk about that. But if they're on, they're red. So basically, if everything's on like this, it means that it's recording everything. It's going to record volume, pan, mute. Even if I don't touch it, it's going to record it. So write mode is dangerous. Touch mode and latch mode are not as dangerous. Okay, so this next page over here, I have a little diagram about touch versus latch. Staffo says, how'd you open the automation window? It's under window automation, but I'm going to talk about it in just a minute, man. Maybe hold off on your questions for a second and let me get through it, because I think I'm going to answer, it seems like I'm going to answer a bunch of your questions actually. So hold on one second instead of just asking a question as soon as it pops into your head. Just hold off for just a second, and when I get to the end, if I didn't answer it, then I'll answer, because I'm going to talk about that. Yep. Don't worry. I've done this many, many times. You're in good hands. You're in good hands. All right. So recording track automation. So this is touch versus latch. So touch mode is, it's like this. The original automation is in blue. So it's got the blue line here. Let me jump in here. Blue line, like that. Boom. Okay. Now, if we wanted to record some different automation here, that's the pink line. The pink line is recording different automation. So I can go in here and I can say, here's where it starts. I can go, I'm recording different automation, I'm recording different automation, and I let go where this line is, it says stop. Then what happens is immediately it goes back to the original automation. I'm not doing anything, it's just going back to the original automation. So this touch mode is fantastic if you just want to record over one section, but you don't want to ruin everything. So touch mode is great. Touch mode is actually my favorite. Then latch mode here, it's again, we got the blue line. Blue line is the original automation. And then the pink line is where we're going to record over it. So we got this, we start, we're recording, we're recording, we're recording, we're recording. We let go of the knob or fader, whatever it is, we let go. And it's just going to continue recording in a straight line. So it's going to record over everything, but this part where after you let go, it's just going to be a straight line. So let me just show you both of those real quick. So in here, let's use touch mode. So watch what happens. I'm going to hit play. I'm going to hit record. Let's move this down here so everything's right next to one another. Okay, here we go. I grabbed it. You can see the red line. And I let go here. See how it goes back? And if I grab it again and I let go, see that red part was where it kind of overwrote my automation that was there. Let me undo that. Now let's go look at latch mode. Latch. And I'm going to do it again. Move it up. Now I'm going to let go right here. See how I let go? It's still recording, but it's just a straight line. Okay, so you can see where I let go, it's just a straight line there. I actually didn't let go there, I just stopped moving stuff. Staffo says it's a very sharp cutoff. Yeah, it's a pretty sharp cutoff here on this synth. All right, so that's what latch mode does. Latch mode, it just takes it and when I let go, it's still recording. Okay, cool. All right, and so how do we switch those, if depending on which one you want to use? Because I think by default, Pro Tools is in latch mode after you do a write pass. It's going to switch to latch and not touch. And I prefer touch. It's up to you. I recommend you check it out and try different ways. But the way we change it is we go to Setup, Preferences. And we're going to go to Operation, Editing. It's in the notes, actually. I don't know why yeah, okay, it's under Mixing. I don't know why I was like looking. It's right there in the notes. I just always forget which thing it's in. So here in Automation, it's right here. And what we want to do is we want to change this after write pass. Switch to, what do you want to switch to? Touch, latch, or no change. So if you wanted to keep writing, then you can just hit no change. But by default, I think it says latch. I'm not a huge fan of latch. It's fine. Sometimes it's useful. But I recommend changing this to touch mode in your preferences. All right, some other stuff that's over here. Plugin controls default to auto enabled. If you want all your plugin commands controls to just be turned on for automation, then you can click on this. But I actually like the way that Pro Tools does it, where it doesn't just do all of them at the same time, because it makes it a little bit easier to look at your automation lanes. And that's about it really in here. I would just keep everything else at the defaults. All right, a couple things to remember. In Pro Tools, automation is king. If you have any automation data on a track, that parameter is no longer editable unless you edit the automation data itself. In order to edit the automation data, you can command click to add points and option click to remove points using the Smart tool. If you just have the grabber tool, you can just click and then hold option to remove stuff. And as a matter of fact, that's how it always works with things, is you hold option in basically any program, hold option to do the opposite thing. For example, like if you want to zoom in, you just click it, usually if you have a magnifying glass tool. And if you want to zoom out, you usually hold option to zoom out. That's in a Mac thing. So check this out. If I go in here and I want to edit some of this automation, first of all, I'm going to put my edit mode into slip mode. I'm going to drag across and hit delete on all these. See this? Okay, see what happens here? All this stuff goes in here, so I'm going to go in here and do that. Now, if I want to add some automation points, let's say I want this to grow up over time. Let's say I wanted to start down here. So I'm going to put a point, I'm going to start it down here. Now let's say I want it to grow up over time. So what I'm doing is I'm holding down my Option key to add points in. Now, unfortunately, Pro Tools doesn't have any way to curve the automation lane, the automation data. There's no way to curve it. Okay. And over here. Cool. Sweetness. Right, there we go. And I can put in, I'm just going to holding down Command to put these points in. And if I want to get rid of them, I hold down Option to get rid of them. Okay, so I can put them in like this. So here we can listen to this. Sweet. So you can see how that works. And if I wanted to copy these, I'm going to go back to my grid mode here, highlight over these, select them, and hit Command D, and it will copy all that automation data right there. So you can edit your automation data and stuff just like you would with anything else. And if I have these in my clips like this, if I duplicate this over and I go back to show my automation, see how it copied everything with me? There you go. Okay. So now remember also, if I want to see my clips, I'm going to go see my clips, and I want to see the automation at the same time, I can just open up the automation lane down here and go down to the automation lane. Boom. There it is. And now I can do the same thing down here. I can edit just the automation, or I could take everything and move it over like that. So there's a couple of different ways, and really the best way to get used to this is just by using it and trying it out and trying out different things. So you gotta make sure that you're getting here and using all this stuff, which is the same for everything that's in here. You really gotta be using this stuff as much as possible, like all the time. All right. So where were we with this? Yeah, okay. So if I have in here, let me just demonstrate this automation is king thing. Let's say I delete all my automation, but somehow, so here, watch this for a second. Let me just show you something. Oops. Oh wait, hold on, we're still in, hold on. Let's put this into read mode, sorry. There we go. Okay. Okay, cool. So we have all this here. And if I move it, I can move it, let go, move it, let go, move it, let go. And I can just adjust it just like you would normally edit stuff. It's the same exact way you normally edit stuff. But if I have a point here, one automation point just over here hanging out by itself. Now when I move this, if I let go, it's going to go back to where it was, to wherever that automation is, because automation is king, because now Pro Tools, it won't let me override the automation. So if I put automation into something, it's going to lock it in, even if the automation isn't anywhere near anything. So this could be really confusing if you don't realize that you put automation onto a track. And this is definitely going to happen to you at some point. It has happened to me many times where I was using write mode and I didn't remember that I had everything turned on to write. And I did write mode and it put a bunch of points into everything like this. So watch. I'm going to go into write mode here. Let's open this thing back up and let's go ahead and do it again. Oops. One more time. Write mode here. Right, so I go in there and I write that in. That's great. Now I'm like, you know what? The volume is too loud. The level of this synth thing is too loud. So I'm going to go over here to my level here, the fader, and I'm going to go ahead and turn it down. So I turn it down. Now, see what just happened? I don't know if you noticed this. Let me go back. Watch this little arrow down here. I put it down and the arrow... Oh, wait. Sorry, hold on a second. It undid. Why did you undo that and not the other thing? Hold on a second. There we go. Wait. Okay, hold on a second. It undid my automation for some reason instead of my volume. Okay, hold on a second. Let's put this back to -11. There we go. Okay, put this into write mode. Sorry, I hit undo and it undid too many things. It was like a glitch in Pro Tools. Okay, so gonna put some automation in here. So all I did was automate my filter here. That's all I'm doing is automating my filter. Now if I go over here to this one, watch this. If I move, what you're gonna look at is this little arrow down here, and I move my fader, and it puts a green arrow here, and that means that my fader is actually below where the automation point is. So I hit go, and it puts it back up here. If I move it up here, right? You can see if I let go. Okay, it won't let me adjust that. I have to go in and change my automation. Now, you might be saying, but Tony, you didn't actually put any automation into the volume, and that you're correct. I didn't put any automation into the volume, but Pro Tools did put automation there because I used write mode, and that's what write mode does. Write mode just puts automation on everything. So if I go look at volume, see they're all like this yellowy orange now. So if I go over here and I put it here, and I go look at my volume, well, I touched it, so it put a bunch in there. Hold on, let's see. Okay, there we go. So Pro Tools put one dot here, and that one dot means that there's automation on that line. So that's why I don't like to use write mode unless there's a very specific reason to use write mode, because write mode is writing everything, and you might not want it to write everything. You might be looking at a certain specific parameter that you want to write onto, and write mode is just like writing everything all over the place. It's like do. I just like writing, and that's what it's doing. So you want to be aware of that. So automation is king. You can copy, paste, duplicate automation data. We talked about that. Okay, so a couple of tips and tricks. Let's talk about that window. Let's go over here. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit here and talk about the window. The window that Staffo was asking about earlier is this automation. It's under window automation right there. Boom. So open this up. Now, if you want to use write mode and you don't want write mode to write over everything, we can put in write mode, but I can turn off stuff that I don't want it to write. So if I wanted it to write my plugin automation data, but not my volume, pan, mute, all that stuff, then I can just turn it on plugin here, which is red. Red means on. And now if I hit go when I'm in write mode, okay, you can see it did not write anything on here. Nothing was written in here, so that's good. And if you want to set it up like this, then you can. It's up to you, or just don't use write mode very much. Like, there's not really a reason to use write mode unless you are like I'm going to show you a reason to use write mode, but beyond the reason I'm going to show you, there's not really a convincing reason to use write mode. I always used to use touch or latch or something like that. But I mean, I guess write mode would be useful for if you want to move stuff around and kind of keep touching it. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't use write mode. I just use touch mode or latch mode. But up to you. All right. So let's talk about a couple of tips and tricks. First of all, I never actually do volume changes on my fader, my main fader. Okay, and the reason why I never do volume changes on my main fader is because of what I just showed you over here. Let me just go ahead and record this in real quick again. Touch mode. Hold on wait one second. Oh. Okay, well here, I'm gonna delete all this. But the undo key is doing weird stuff to me today. I don't know. Cool. I'm going to grab this and duplicate it. Boom. So there we go. We're good now. All right, so I'm going to put it in read mode, and let's take this and say I want to make it grow up over the whole course of these 4 bars here. So, or for 8 bars. So what I'm going to do is one trick, first of all, when you're writing in your data with your mouse, is to start with your end point, your destination first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put an end point here. Click. I'm holding down Command. I'm going to put a point here, and I'm going to put a point here in the middle to move it. Now, you see how that worked there? It sets my destination up here. Opposed to if I go like this, so I do like this. Let's say I want to end up exactly where I started. I want to end up at like this level here is the loudness I want to end up at. Well, if I go over here, and I pull it down, and I pull this back up, now I have to kind of eyeball it, and I have to know what level I had, and I can see it here on the screen, so it's okay. But like that. Joe says, write mode seems great when you have parameters set up to physical knobs and faders. Well, yeah, it's okay, but even if you have them set up for physical knobs and faders, whenever you turn a physical knob or fader, it's still going to make adjustments if you're in touch or latch mode. So it doesn't really matter. So you can't type in the level. No, no, you can't type in the level. All right, so I got this here. So I put this in over here. I don't think you can type in the level. Hold on, let's see. Can I type in the level? I haven't, that's not an option that I've seen. Nope. Oh, I'm just trying different key commands here. Nope. So let's do that one more time. So I have this one. I want to get back to this level here. I start, I go down here like this, or maybe I just have this starts down low like this. And then I pull it back up, and I have to know exactly where I started. And now, let's say 11.9 was where I wanted to get to. Well, I can't really get to it right there. So another way to do this is if I start at the end, I put a point in the beginning, I put a point at the end where I want to end up, and then I put a middle point in here, and I add this in. Now, I can make adjustments here, and we actually end up at the right place. And now it's a fade up. And that's in our notes right here. Always insert the first and last automation points first, then insert the adjustment points. So put the ones on the ends first, so you're locking in your ends, and then you move the one in the middle. And that's a really nice way to work. I highly, highly recommend doing that kind of stuff there. If we want to select some automation, so let's go down here and say, let's say I want to select this automation here. I can triple click it, 1, 2, 3, and now it's going to select all the automation on the track, and I hit delete, and it deletes the automation. That's really important. People often ask me how to do that. That's how you do it right there. If I have automation on here, I just want to get rid of all the automation on my track. 1, 2, 3, click, hit delete, and it's gone. Same thing with this one down here. 1, 2, 3, highlights everything, hit delete, and now it's gone. Okay. If I wanted to select the automation for just this clip, I can just double click wherever the clip is. So if I go up here to my contact, it's easier to see in this one window up here, but we can see I've got my clips right here between like this. Oops. Like this here, like this here, like this here, like this here. Okay. So if I go in here and I double click with my selector tool, see how it's changing my tool depending on where I mouse. Like right up here, it's not going to do it like it has to look like this. So I double click and it selects everything in there, then I can delete it right there. Boom. Rilla, what's up? Rilla, you're late. You're so late. I'll put you in like a little bit late there, buddy. I think you do work. No, you're sometimes late. All right. Well, all right. So double click in here, boom, hit delete, and we're good to go to delete it. If you wanted to double click and then hold shift, you can adjust how many points you're collecting. You're selecting like that and hit delete in there like that. So some things like that you can use. These are standard editing techniques. So if you're getting better at editing things and getting better at using your selector tool like I showed you back in the very first week, then this will be helping you a lot too. All right, So in here, let's see, what's next? All right, so as I mentioned before, I never do my volume automation on the track itself. I never go in here and do volume automation like this. And the reason why is because if I have volume automation in here like this, here, let me just go ahead and I'm gonna grab these. I'm gonna get my clips back in here. I'll turn this off for a second. I'm gonna explain what that is just now. I'm gonna copy these and paste them over here. Boom. So let's say this is playing over here. And I want to adjust my level because it's too loud for this part here. So I want to turn it down. So I turn it down and it goes back up. And the reason why it went back up is because I have automation over here in this section over here. Now you might say, but Tony, wait, hold on. There's no automation over here in this part. I know, but that's how Pro Tools is. Pro Tools, remember, automation is king. If you have automation anywhere on a track, it's going to affect the whole track. So that's what we're dealing with here. Just so you know, Logic is exactly the same way. Logic and Pro Tools are exactly the same when it comes to automation. So if you're learning how to do automation here, you can do automation in Logic, no problem. Rilla says, a dream of me missing my alarm woke me up. I get it. I get it. I mean, if you want some advice, get a puppy. That'll wake you up when they're peeing all over you. All right, so so I don't have any automation over here, but I still can't adjust. I can't make the adjustments that I want to make. So what I recommend in here, I can just show you that. So I move it, and it goes back up because I don't have any. I'd have to go ahead and write the auto. I'd have to write that the volume level in. So if I wanted to adjust this, I can highlight it and I can change it like this. But that's not really what I want to do. So what I want to do is first I'm going to delete all this automation on here. And I'm going to put a trim plugin here. Now remember we talked about the trim plugin a little bit yesterday during when we were talking about the test on Zoom. It's a multi-mono plugin and it goes here under other trim. Now up here I've got a trim plugin. 12, sometimes I miss my alarm because someone dream I'm making a beat with this. Ha! And you wake up and you're Fisher. You know that Fisher song, I'm losing it. It's like such an alarm. It's so funny. That's funny. You should make a beat with the alarm sound. All right. So So if you want to make it this trim plugin to be like exactly like your track volume level, then we can set it to +12 here, +12 dB, which is going to be the same exact settings as your volume level and your fader. And let's do all our automation on this plugin here. So I'm going to go over here to auto. I'm going to turn on my gain, double click it. It opens up like this, hit OK. And now you can see it's green in here. Now I'm going to do my automation on this track here. So I'm going to go down to trim, gain. I'm going to put my automation in here like this. Cool. Boom. Staffo, you're funny. Cool, and there we go. And I could go over here to this part here and I could say, all right, I'm gonna go down a little bit like this. And we're gonna do like a gentle fade to this part here and it's gonna kind of come back up. So you can see here, boom. You can see how it's fading down over time. And you can see this is moving here. Cool, and I can move this over here like this. Let me just zoom in on this. And I'm gonna go ahead and put this stuff in like this. Like that, so I get like a little curve on it. Now, people oftentimes complain about the lack of curves in automation in Pro Tools. I mean, whatever, you can complain about it as much as you want. It's not a thing in Pro Tools, as far as I know, in Pro Tools, whatever version we're in right now. So just kind of learn how to draw dots in. It's not great, I agree, but that's the world we live in. Cool. All right. So here's the thing, though. The reason why I like to do it on this plugin here is because now I have full control of my level with my fader. So if I in general the sound is just a little bit too loud, in general, I can just go over here. I can just turn it down. And this allows me to let it to more easily fit into my mix, which is really cool thing. So that's why I like to do that. I highly recommend using a plugin, and this is not just a Pro Tools thing; it's everything. I'm going to show you how to do it in Ableton Live as well, and in Logic. They all have plugins that are kind of like the trim plugin. In Ableton Live, it's called Utility. In Logic, I think it's called Gain, something like that. But actually, Logic has a thing called relative automation lanes, which is something that Pro Tools Ultimate has. So if you are using Pro Tools in a bigger studio, you do not have to do it with this trim plugin. It actually has your main lane on it, and it's got a relative lane, which is really nice to use. I would much prefer that, but this works too, running it through this plugin. All right, so where are we? In here. So yeah, do your volume automation with the trim plugin, not on the track fader. Put the trim plugin. Okay, good, great. Auto plugin controls. Okay, so in the plugin, how do we get to all these windows that I'm looking at here? So right up here, you should have talked about all these windows up here. Let's go into, this is fine. This one's fine. So what we want to focus on is this section right here, auto. This auto has a little box underneath it, the plugin automation enable box. So I click on this and it opens up my plugin automation parameters, all the parameters for that plugin. You can see there's not very many, and it's got a box on the left and a box on the right. The box on the left is all your parameters, and the box on the right are all your parameters that are enabled for automation. So we have here, boom, it says, if I try to remove it, it says you can't remove it, or you can remove it, but it's going to remove your automation that you have on the track. I'm not going to undo that. So if I go over here, I can add my mute in, I can add my master bypass, I can click them over here and take them away, and then you can see where it is on here. I can go to my contact and I can see all the different parameters that are in here for contact, and I only added the one in here. But if I added more like this and I go over here, I hit OK, now when I look at my window, it's got a whole bunch of them down here. So it's got all that stuff that I just messed around, that I just added in there. And that's the quick way to, well, not the quick way, that's how you do it in Pro Tools. Here, let me just open this up again. Click on this, go to contact. I'm just gonna delete all these, just double click them. Cool. You can also shift click and just hit add, or I could shift click and hit remove. So there's a couple of different ways to do that. Now, if you are in a, let's see, I'm going to go in here. I'm going to get rid of all this automation down here. I don't need to open that. I'm just going to get rid of all this automation. Boom, there we go. And instead of having a, let's see, instead of having, I'm just going to have the full, turn the filter off. So what I'm going to add a different filter into here. I just want to show you something. If I go into my modulation filter, vintage filter, here's my vintage filter. This one comes with Pro Tools. Okay, now check out how different this sounds. Okay, and the reason why it sounds so different is because this sound, hold on, let me bypass. It has a reverb on it already. Just turn that reverb down. I'm sorry, I didn't realize it had a. Let's turn it. There we go. Yeah, now it's just my reverb. Cool. But if I turn this reverb up again, yeah, actually I like that reverb on there, but I have to be careful because now my vintage filter, which is coming after everything, so this filter here is before the reverb, this filter here is after the reverb, so it changes the sound drastically. which is not bad. It's just very different. So if I turn this reverb off, or I can, I can put that back and just turn it off like this. There we go. That sounds a little bit more like what we had before. Okay, cool. So I've got this filter here. Now, if I want to turn on one of my automation lanes, or if I want to turn on, like, make one of my parameters automatable, what I can do is I can hold down the claw. Remember we talked about the claw during the quiz yesterday. Control, Option, Command. It is in your notes. It is right here. Right there, the claw. Control, Option, Command. Claw, click a parameter, quickly enable it or disable it. So I want to automate my cutoff. I hold down Control, Option, Command, and I click it, and it pulls up this window, this dialog here. It says Enable. Yes, boom, and now it gives a little green light. Now this is only on Pro Tools plugins. So now, though, I can go in here. I can change this to let's change it to touch mode, and let's just see it, shall we? Just go in here so we can see it. Cut off. Boom. Awesome, and there we go. There's my automation is in there. Cool, and we can see that when we've got the automation here, it turns red. Now you'll notice that that did not happen before when I was using Contact. There was nothing that showed up on my automation cutoff over here. That's because it's not built into the interface in Contact. It's got to be built into the interface, which it is with Pro Tools. So there's not a whole lot we can do about it. It's just how it is. So with Pro Tools plugins, the ones that come with Pro Tools, you're usually going to get some feedback if a parameter is automatable or not. With third-party plugins, usually you're not going to get any feedback. So you just kind of have to know what you automated. Okay, so if I want to turn this one off, automation off for this one, I can Control, Option, Command, the claw, click it, and disable. It's going to give me it didn't give me a warning. Oh, I thought it was going to give me a warning. Nope, no warning. It just did it. All right, there you go. So be careful about that. Can I undo that? I cannot undo that. Yeah, can't undo. So be careful, because if you undo something that you've spent a lot of time working on, if you get rid of it with claw clicking on it, then you're going to be a very sad panda. Very sad panda. All right. Okay. Now the last thing we're going to talk about here is some pencil tools. The last thing we're going to talk about for like doing automation stuff is the pencil tools. How the pencil tool works with the automation. So I've got my filter here, and let me enable it here. Boom. And let's go down and put it down in the window down here. Filter cutoff. There we go. Boom. Okay, so I got this. Now what I'm going to do is let's use the pencil tool to draw these in. So use my pencil tool up here. I've got all these different shapes: line, triangle, square, random. Let's use triangle. And what I'm going to do is we're going to do quarter notes. Put my grid on. I'm going to click and drag. And it's going to automatically put shapes. Cool, and the more you click and drag, the more you got shapes. And we can adjust this. We can adjust this and make it faster, slower, whatever you want to do. Boom. There we go. Cool. So that's how you can draw in those shapes. And if you want to just draw in some straight lines, you can just draw in some straight lines. Just grab your pencil tool and drag it and move it around. I don't usually do it this way, just because it's not quite as it's not quite as, I don't know, precise as just using the dots and moving things around, but it works. Cool. So there's your pencil tool. Now, you might look at your pencil tool and be like, hey, Tony, there's a curve. There's a curve, Tony. You said there's no curves. There are still no curves. See how my pencil is now grayed out? For some reason, they decided to put a curve into the pencil tool and then make it so you can't use it on automation lanes. What's up with that? I don't know. Maybe it's a Pro Tools Ultimate thing. Actually, it probably is a Pro Tools Ultimate thing. You're welcome, Charlize. It probably is a Pro Tools Ultimate thing. And I'm just missing out because I don't use Pro Tools Ultimate. I don't know, but don't hold me to that because I don't know that it is a Pro Tools Ultimate thing. These curves here, parabolic and S curve, are for your tempo changes. So if you want to do tempo changes, you can use the curves for the tempo changes. All right. So, all right. Let's see. Are there any more tippy tips? Last one. All right, so last one. This is what we call plugin automation snapshot. Now, for this one here, if you have questions about this, I will talk about them on Zoom individually, but this is like super advanced stuff. This is like really a tip and a trick that I don't know that like it's going to go over a bunch of people's heads right now, but I still want to show it because there's a couple people who are going to get something out of it. It's really cool, actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a sci-fi plugin in here. And the reason I'm going to put the sci-fi plugin on here because the sci-fi plugin comes with Pro Tools and it really changes the sound a lot. You can do a lot of wacky things with it. And the presets are great. So go in here. Let's go in here and hit go. Right, cool. Sounds, I like that. Okay, and I can change the sounds around. Okay, now what if I wanted to change the sounds like that each bar, if I wanted each bar to have sounds that sounded like that. So let's go ahead and do that. I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to do this using snapshots. And this is a Pro Tools thing. I don't think you can do this in, I know you cannot do this in Ableton Live because of the way it works. And in Logic, I think you probably could do this in Logic using write mode. So what we're going to do is, first of all, we need to put it in write mode and change the key. Yeah, you could change the key, but that's not what we're doing here right now. The key is like a separate thing. But what we're going to do here is window automation, and we're going to make sure that only the plugin is automatable. Then what we're going to do is we're going to go in here, and I'm going to hold down my claw, Control Option Command, and click on the auto button like this. Click that, and look what happens. Everything becomes automation parameters. Oh, I changed the key? I think you changed the key as well. I changed the key? Did I? What do you mean? I don't know what you mean by I changed the key. Well, we could talk about it later. Let's continue doing this here because I don't know. I don't know what you mean. I don't think I changed the key, but maybe. Oh, well, yeah, it's a ring modulator, right? Yeah, it's a serious ring modulator. But here, just check. Hold on a second. Just check this out because that's not the point. The point is not the key. The point is just how weird it sounds. Okay, let's focus on how weird it sounds here for just a second. It sounds super weird. And yeah, the key is probably pretty different at this point, but I'm not going to worry about that. Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to use write mode. Wait, hold on a second. Yep, okay, so now I'm lost where I am. All right. Okay, cool. So this is, all right, cool. All right. So in here, I go in here and we're in write mode here, boom. So now what we're gonna do is, first of all, I'm gonna put this to default mode. So let's go to factory default like this, boom. and just record that in right over here somewhere, just so we have it as a recording. And I'm just going to hit go, turn my loop. Loop doesn't need to be on or off, whatever, you can have loop on or off. Where is it? I thought it was over here. Nope, okay. So hit play, and now I've got my default mode here. All my defaults are here. So if I want to bring stuff back to my default, now we can't see what it's doing because I'm not showing anything, but we can see down here the sci-fi has everything in here, and if we look at it, all these things have little points on them. See that point right there? Whoops. Where are you, point? You're right over here. Boom. So there's my point. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is going to highlight this loop. I'm going to highlight it as a loop, 1 bar. Let's do 1 bar here. And I'm going to change my sound to Alien Talk 2. And I'm going to put it back in write mode and hit go. Okay, and now I'm going to highlight this part over here in Alien Talk 3 and hit go, write mode. Cool, and now I'm going to go over here. Now you could do this in real time as well. You don't have to like stop and start if you know exactly where you want things to happen. Go over here, and I'm just going to let it play through without looping. Whoops, that was the wrong, hold on. Use a different one. Okay. Awesome. So now as it plays through, check this out. Put it to read mode. Okay, and you can hear how it changed the sound every single time like that. And so that's something that the way you would do this in other DAWs is you would just record that as audio. But in Pro Tools, Logic, anything that can use that has like a write mode where it's like an overall everything can be written at the same time, you can actually do stuff like this, which is it's a pretty specific trick or tip. But when it's useful, it's very useful. It's a super cool thing. When it's not useful, it's very not useful, which is most of the time. So like I said, that's like a really advanced thing that took me years to figure out. Just not like it's hard, it's just not the type of thing you'd normally use this for. So it's a pretty cool little trick I wanted to show y'all. And with that, I think we are done. Oh, the automation safe button. And if you've done a bunch of automation, you want to make sure you don't record any more automation, you can hit the safe button right here. There it is. And you're not going to record any more automation into that plugin, which is good to use. Cool. All right. So I'm going to stop the recording right there.